Okay, call to order. This meeting of the Board of Ethics, January 21, 2011, at 3:02 p.m. Roll call.
Ms. Flannery,
Present.
Mr. Silver,
Present.
Ms. Phillips,
Present.
Dr. Kelly.
Present.
And also in attendance, Dee Ennis, Assistant Municipal Attorney.
First.
And then Mr. Burgess is excused.
Okay. Meetings from previous meeting. Does everyone have a copy of the minutes from our November 19th meeting? Are there any edits? The header on the second page needs to be fixed to the date on the header.
June 2nd.
Might be good to update.
Okay.
Found it.
Do I have a motion?
Move to accept the minutes?
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are accepted. Any persons to be heard? Seeing none. Official orders? None. Old business. Review advisory opinion 2010-14.
Need one?
So, on this one, Dee, you were gonna contact Crime Stopper, contact Captain Miller to see if he was willing to withdraw requests to gain information on Crime Stoppers and contact purchasing.
Okay, he was withdrawing this.
He did withdraw?
Yes, he's withdrawn it
Okay.
verbally. And purchasing does have a form, which I did not locate. I guess I can bring that at some other time. It does have a form that they use for this. And I believe it's just an ongoing policy that they've been, I don't think there's any particular, they're not relying on any particular policy or code provision. And the Crime Stoppers is a private nonprofit organization. It's not part of the police department.
So there's no action that we need to take then?
No.
So I think we'll just note for the record that request for advisory opinion 2010-14 has been withdrawn. Does the board wish to take any further action related to any of these issues? Nope. Okay, so we'll just note for the record it was withdrawn and no further action necessary. Okay. Notice of potential violation 2010-3. Is that?
That's the one you have.
Okay, here we go. So on this one, we had asked Mr. Burgess to contact persons involved and begin investigation. I think we would have them come meet with us, right?
That's right.
So, and he's aware of that, Mr. Burgess?
I just got the email from him that he wouldn't be attending.
Okay. Let's look at the deadlines really quick. Notice of potential violation. Do we have 60 days?
Well, you're, been 60 days.
Let's see, I know, I'm not sure if we, I think it was, I'm trying to remember what the 60 days was for. Okay.
There's a 60 days of investigation. It's after you've done the investigation.
Oh, yeah, right, complete actions on notifications within 90 days of the filing of the notice of potential violation.
Which would be
That's
February,
J, something J.
that would be February 4th.
Uh, 70, 115.070 J. But
Yep.
But by majority vote, the board may extend the completion for up to an additional 60 days.
Okay, good.
Take that as a majority vote.
So,
Madam Chairperson, would you prefer an official vote?
Yes.
yes, but just give me a second. So what's the date on the filing of it here?
November 4th?
No, okay.
We had the meeting on the 19th.
November 8th. Oh, I see.
Looking at the
It's
top
November
stamp.
4th up here.
That's odd. How could you receive this before?
The date on the bottom, huh? November 4th though, yep, okay. So we have till February 4th? And we're at January 20? I think we need another 60 days. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So the board has voted to extend it 60 days for its review of notice of potential violation 2010-3. So March, April 4th approximately. So we need to get on Mr. Burgess about his. Okay.
Let me start reviewing these things.
Okay.
Would you like the pilot version?
New business, review disclosure forms. So let's look at economic interest first.
I think I've seen this one.
And then, let's see, I think I don't have this one, but I do have the others. So we'll start with the medium-sized stack.
Half Burgess. Not a big deal.
It's the other side.
It looks almost the same
Oh,
as yours.
it's on the other side. Okay. We're saving paper, that's good.
It gets tricky when I flip it.
I don't see anything that particularly stands out to me. So I think, do I have a motion to accept the disclosures of present economic interest?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
So that's Robin and Mr. Kelly is second.
Mm-hmm.
Gift disclosures. Now, related to the gift disclosure, since we don't have it formally on the agenda, I wonder if this might be a good time to take a look at the form. We talked about revising the gift disclosure form after Julia's training, right? To include sort of a section on it where we sign off and accept it as okay, or we send it back and tell them to reject the gift. So Julia has has enlightened us as to powers that we were not previously aware of.
That was interesting.
And her interpretation of the code is that we have the authority to direct municipal employees to return gifts and not accept them because we deem them to be inappropriate or unreasonable.
Because I myself was confused at a couple points of that presentation analysis, and if she is coming back again, I mean, at some point we're going to have her back, unless everybody thought that that was because we kept circling around to other issues, and we kept getting away. I would like to explore that more. Unless that was clear to you that there were some loops in that, we kept going to more complicated matters, and I wondered if we waited, unless again that's very clear to all of you, if we waited till the next time she came here. But I mean, if you thought that was a clear enunciation of power in that, I have no problem with that analysis. It's just we went in sort of circles because we kept doing other examples and then never getting back for additional questions. And if it's going to form the basis of a policy.
Yeah, maybe we should. So it was under a provision, was it under the ethics education program or sanctions, referrals, corrective action? I'm trying to remember exactly which one she
It was
pointed
around there. It was near the end.
Let's see.
The section when it's going through the various, tasks of the board.
Maybe it was under powers of the board?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, so like that section, we're at 1506
Generous people.
B. This is one of the ones we wound up looking at, right? When an individual's actions may be governed by this chapter, a consult with and advise the individual on matters involving ethical conduct to include applicability and interpretation of municipal ethics laws. So I took that to mean, and I think this is what Julia said, that we don't have to wait for someone to file a notice of potential violation, that we're always free. I don't remember her saying that we're free to command, to order people to return gifts, but we're certainly free to either include on the form or send a letter to, let's say, one of these people who received gifts and say, on reviewing this disclosure form, we notice that some of your conduct is applicable, is under the jurisdiction of this, of the ethics code, and we don't find it consistent with the ethics code. So in other words, I think we're always free to tell people what you're doing is a violation of the ethics code. I'm not sure we can tell people to give the gifts back, and I guess we could. I mean, in some cases,
To
there's some
find a
practical.
violation, do we have to do an investigation though?
Because we're not, because we're providing advice, and that our advice is that you're in violation of the code.
Well, our advice is that you may be found to be in violation of the code.
I would say that you're in
You are in
violation of the
violation of the
code, and
code.
that you should not receive gifts any longer. Like, in other words, what we're telling people is that you're in violation of the code, and if anyone were to file a notice of potential violation against you, you would be found in the wrong.
I also found it amusing here, I'm looking at two of these. Gifts given by the same family to two different teachers. One was for $100, the other one I guess they liked better because they gave her $200.
Yeah, I pulled the $200 one out because it was more than any other gift that was listed. So.
Dr. Kelly, I wasn't sure which one you had cited.
Well, maybe what we do instead of revising the form, since the form is already pretty jam-packed, maybe we draft a form cover letter
Yeah, that might be a nice idea, like a form letter that just kind of says,
that says
we
the
reviewed your disclosure form
and the form that you filed on such and such date for this amount.
Now my question is this: will we stop getting these forms then?
Will people stop reporting?
Yeah.
They
Well,
might.
they might, which would be an additional violation.
That's right. It's doubly risky behavior. To be honest, my guess is that teachers would not stop filing as long as Carol keeps making it an issue, as long as Carol keeps saying you need to be filing these things, because they know it's sort of their job that's on the line.
Let's see here.
Right? It's a little bit dramatic to put it, but to purposely not file is to break the law.
There is an advice section in these.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
B, right?
B, yeah,
It's
B5.
B5. Yeah, B5 and B2. The one that I was looking at. I'm actually not entirely sure how they're different.
Some of these
Well, then I guess I would think, let's see, B5 and what, and B2?
Oh, is maybe 5 when someone has already filed a notice of potential violation and you're providing advice to them about how they can manage it. Maybe subject to provisions of a notification of potential violation. So 5 seems to indicate a notice of potential violation has been filed, and then we're advising people how to comply with the code from there.
See, I don't read it that way just because it says may be subject to provisions of a notification. But I think you're absolutely correct. They say the same thing, but it gives the board authority.
Yeah, that's the only difference I can see between 2 and 5, is that 5 mentions the notice. But at any rate, I think we
Yeah.
do have that power. I think, and as I recall, I think that's what Julia was pointing to, saying that we have the power to at least do that much.
See, I thought she was going much farther than that as well, though, that there were very black and white lines. So if they were over $50, I can't remember what the black and white lines were right now, but they were in violation. And
That's kind of what I impressed, I got one parent here that's giving $200 on one of them. Lots of $100 gifts given away.
Determine violation of this chapter by preponderance of the evidence presented to the board. So that's number 4, that's A4. So I think in order to determine a violation, if we're gonna write a letter saying you violated, it has to be by preponderance of the evidence. But I guess,
Well, though that's A, right? And
Mhm.
A is the authority of the board regarding notifications of potential violation.
okay,
B
right,
is advice, so I take it B is a
the
separate,
broader one.
separate branch of powers that the board has.
Yeah, B does the broader.
And B is certainly the more proactive. I mean, A, the notice of potential violation is a very reactive procedure. B, which we've actually never used, right, is, and I think this was Julie was trying to emphasize, it's a proactive power that the board has, that we
Why
always
is it
have the power
this
to
was actually-
fire off the letters to someone saying, what you are doing is wrong.
Well, I say we go with number 5, and we advise an individual that their actions may be subject to the provisions of notice of potential violation to the board regarding compliance on a matter within the board's jurisdiction.
What level do you want to take? Because we have to, we can draw the line that Julia was over $100, it was $50, but here's $250 for tickets.
And I guess my
$100.
question
That's
is
my
that
opener. Yeah, that's just,
if we have this form that says you just have to report if it's over $50, then why would we tell somebody to report it and then we tell them that they're wrong? I mean, that's
It is kind of a catch-22.
So I would say that it can't. I mean,
Right,
we got a problem with the language then.
yeah. Okay,
It's I find it
Go back
interesting,
to
just
that
the school district we have this issue with.
a gift of nominal value given to an employee of Anchorage School District by a student parent of a group of parents, or community organization. The school district employee shall disclose a gift in this category with a value in excess of $50, as provided in the gift disclosure form available within 10 days.
Then I just start advising all my parents that
Well,
I'll take
maybe
$50 gift certificates.
what we need to do is issue an advisory opinion that we think gifts in excess of a dollar amount may result in a potential violation of the code.
Use that
You
to
still have to
reasonable
find a
words.
reasonable, I mean, we would still have to find that, what is it, the standard that could reasonably infer that the gift was intended to influence the employee's independence of judgment. in
yeah,
the
and
exercise
and
of
what I would
official
recommend is
duties.
citing that standard and not getting too hung up on a very specific dollar amount, and then reviewing these on a case-by-case basis. Because we've seen there's already a lot of various possibilities of how these scenarios are unfolding. A $200 gift that a teacher receives from a whole classroom is not necessarily
See,
problematic.
that I don't have as much trouble
Well, that's
with,
right.
but I have a
$200
$200 gift given to one teacher.
That's right. But we also talk
From
about
one
a
parent.
$200 gift given to a teacher maybe in June and saying from a graduating student, that might be okay, right? A lot of these were $200 gifts right in the middle, smack in the middle of the academic. That's why I would say it might be better to say that our principle is, look, when you look at this, does it just not pass the Smith test? And then say what the number is and what the scenario is. Let's review them case by case and see, is this the kind of situation where you do say to yourself, boy, that does not look good. If I were a parent of another student in that class, I would not be happy about this gift. Rather than trying to say, this dollar amount under this kind of circumstance when received at this time, And we've tried to work that out before, and I think we always wind up just getting tripped up over it. I say just do it common law style, have a basic principle, and then just review it case by case. And then that way you can let the fact pattern of each disclosure help guide you rather than trying to lock it in ahead of time.
And taking these ones in particular, I went through them, and it's because so many of them were for $100 or less. Those I accepted as good,
Yeah, I think.
and then just pulled out the ones that were odd or.
I guess to some degree, though, it does. I'm looking at these parents that can afford $100 for each one of their students. You know, if they have in school, if you have 5 kids, or in one case, $200. You know, it could be off. And how can another parent who may not be in the same economic stratus be able to compete with that? Yet that's what it just.
That's right. It may not be a lot of money to the parent, but I think it is, it's an issue of being equitable, right? I mean, how could poorer parents compete with that? And does that have an influence on the teacher's judgment or not? Well,
I keep thinking I have 2 rotten kids out of 4, and the teacher at the end of the year deserves a trip to the spa. Period. Gosh.
But like you said, that's the end of the year.
and again, that's
The
why
end of
that's
the
why
year,
I'm much
I'm just
more-
saying.
And that's why I say
Gosh, they
take it
put
on a
up with these
case-by-case
kids.
basis. I'm much more sympathetic to the $200 gift that comes at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Thanks for a great year. This is maybe a little bit on the lavish side, but you really deserved it.
You deserve it.
And I know people like to celebrate the holidays and everything, but gifts received by a teacher, in the $150 to $200, and when we're not, in many of these cases, like these disclosures, you're not talking gifts, right? So it's not like, hey, I bought you a $200 gift that expresses my. I'm giving you a check, right? Or I'm giving
Or a gift
you
card.
a Visa card, right? Or I'm giving you a gift card.
That feels worse now.
Yeah, it does. I mean, at a certain point, kind of reasonably, could a person reasonably infer? Well, I don't know. This person could reasonably infer it. I mean, that there's I mean, again, if I did not have the means to give my teacher $150 to $200 Christmas gifts, and my kid was in that class, I would feel uncomfortable about that situation. And I think in part that's the point. I think that's the point of having ethics in public service.
It's almost like we have to, or it would be nice to, for either at the beginning of the school year or every time a new student gets enrolled, they just get a little notice that say, we understand some people like to give to our teachers, however, ...
That's right. Or, I think ideally what I'd like to see is as we start sending these letters off to teachers start refusing the gifts.
Did you, this went in, I'm assuming, did we by chance get these into the database?
No, because the law, we did that last year, and we haven't.
So we haven't been keeping that database up?
For which?
For the school district, and how many schools are reported here? And, I mean, there's a couple schools I don't recall seeing before, Aquarian. But-
Homestead, I think.
Well, I think this is a record number and everything, and that's a good sign, right?
Well, but it's
so
Christmas
Carol's
time,
promised
too.
that they're gonna make this an issue and get the word out that this has to be done. That's great, and I think if we can kind of get both sides going, and if Carol makes sure that the disclosures are happening and we start responding and advising teachers, this is the kind of gift, under this kind of circumstance is very likely a violation of the ethics code. I think we actually may see some movement here in the right direction.
So I was going to say, I think the code only gives you a bright line for gifts under 50, and over 50, you have to use judgment. As you suggested, sort of a case-by-case basis. And just because it's over 50 doesn't mean it's only.
Right.
I agree, no, I mean,
Right.
just as it has to be disclosed, I don't think it says anywhere that over 50, in fact, we've looked at this language a few times, right, and if anything, it implies that at least some gifts over 50 probably are okay. That's why the broader principle is the gift and the timing of the gift such that a reasonable person could infer that's going to
What
influence
we
their judgment.
proposed to the school district was like no more than $75 or something.
I don't
like that.
remember. I'd have to look at that
Well,
letter.
my next question was going to be, do we have any idea of when the actual $50 language was put into that.
Into the code.
If it was in
Okay.
2007. I don't know if that was, I mean, the code was
I
revised.
mean, because if it was written, 10 years ago, maybe it's too low. I mean,
Inflation.
The code was all done in 2007, I think.
But it was an old code before that, but it was completely revised in 2007. I don't know if that $50 limit was set then, or if it was from a carryover. from-
What you missed, we did some research on this before, and was it the city of Boston? The school
Oh,
district.
right,
We were on the
right.
board then,
Yeah.
when we looked at the Boston article.
Okay, and we decided at that point, we
They
tried,
set a $50 limit, right?
I thought they said no gifts, I thought we had no tolerance anymore. because
Is
it
it
was
zero
costing us
tolerance? I don't know.
grief.
Well, if you cited on the bottom of that form, just that reference, a check, this is to advise you that your acts may be subject to provisions of a notification of potential violation or something, just a little warning, just saying, hey, it may be subject, may be a problem. You would think that that would have a sort of a chilling effect on those type of gifts.
The problem is the people giving them the gifts, teachers kind of got stuck in the middle here.
Yeah, I think so.
But
the teacher would then, after that one, know, well, geez, maybe I shouldn't accept a $200 or $400 gift.
I didn't see any
Maybe
coach
more.
courses this time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I think that's the hope, that we just sort of work on a case-by-case teacher. I mean, and maybe this year go back to the school board and ask them again, and maybe tell them that we're doing this now, and try to make the point, you're only putting your teachers in the middle of this. You're putting your teachers at risk because you're not making a clear policy for them. And now we're having to start to sending them these, let's face it, unpleasant letters saying what you have done is very likely a violation of municipal law.
Or maybe,
right?
yeah. I like the maybe language. But I think that's enough for the average person, to see in that language may be
Oh.
a violation, the average person will respond.
I think we might get a few people that'll ask us to put a monetary number on it.
But we don't have that by code. so.
Yeah.
It is so interesting, though. I'm so on the other side of this issue as a practical matter. I think the teachers deserve everything they can get. I understand the ethical ramifications, but
Oh, yeah, no,
boy, I just hate to.
But I just can't. I mean, and again, it amazes me. And again, like, I'm not a middle school or a high school teacher, but I just would not accept a gift from a student in the middle of the semester.
Yeah.
I wouldn't accept anything. And then at the end of the semester, I certainly wouldn't accept a $200 gift.
Yeah.
It's just beyond. It's just beyond me. A student giving me a $50 gift card in the middle of the semester, I just.
Yeah,
it
I mean, I
boggles the
look at it
mind,
for
really.
Christmas, not middle of semester.
I guess
Yeah, and that's,
and I also-
I think-
but the teachers, they have them for a year. So if I had a course
Yeah.
that was a 2-semester course, it was a full academic year. I would
But
not
students do not think like
Oh,
that.
of course they don't.
They
But
think
I do.
this
I mean,
is
in other
a
words,
But I also
for
think
me,
it's
it's an issue of
also-
professionalism.
Yeah.
If you-
I need to think that
If you're a
way.
teacher in the Fairview district, we don't have any from there.
Yeah.
We got it from Kincaid.
Kincaid and service.
Yeah, I mean, some of
It's the usual suspects.
higher, I don't know where Homestead is, I have to look and see what some of these are, but.
And none of them are from East Hampton. I don't believe.
Well, any of the charter schools like Aquarian, I mean, you have to lottery to get in
Oh,
those.
sure,
So
some
it's
there.
going to be parents that are kind of more active and,
That's base.
and can afford to drive their kids to school wherever they happen to get in and that sort of thing.
So were there a lot of from the charter schools in here?
Mm-hmm.
Other-
Yeah. But those were almost all PTA though too.
And this one here, a gift card for $250, just say from parents. Cynthia Koch, doesn't say what school. Bowman Elementary is where the fax came from, though. And doesn't say if was it from parents from one kid or from did they get together. And it just raises a.
Mhm.
Now, the other one next, right to it, Joel Akers, he got $225 gift card to REI, but it was from the Bowman Old Optional Parents, or parent group, which was something that I guess we have decided that was kind of like getting from the PTA.
Yeah, group. Well, so is there a proposed revised form at this point?
So for these, what
Yeah, did I get a gift? Is it more than $50? Give it back.
Well, what
I
I
don't
would
know.
propose is that we draft this form letter. I said we hang on to the disclosures that we have for today's meeting. I said that we don't act on them. And that we bring the letter, and let's look at these disclosures that we have, and let's pick out the ones that to talk about next time that we might want to fire a letter off to these teachers. And then start making that our common practice, to pull out ones that we want to send the letter to.
Do you want to CC the school board, because you're firing a kind of a shot across the bow of the school board and the school district when you send it straight to the teachers?
Well, one, you're absolutely right. We should CC it to Carol, and two, we should probably tell Carol. In fact, we definitely should tell Carol that we've decided to do this. And so we should either, Madam Chairwoman, we should probably contact Carol. Tell her, and she may want to come and talk to us about it, but we definitely, I think it is a really good point. I don't think we should do this without letting her know ahead of time. I definitely don't want to blindside her.
Well, I wonder, in a letter to Carol, I mean, there's some things you've already raised that would be sort of common criteria: gifts during the middle of a semester, gifts, high amount gifts, versus group gifts. That these are some of the things we're going to look at, and that you'll be developing that just with this first group of ones that you're going to review.
That's a good idea.
Sounds to me like you're volunteering to write a letter.
I'll write both those letters. Yeah, I'll write the letter to Carol, and I'll write the form letter
It
using the
depends.
strongest possible.
It depends.
Well, I was thinking for your signature.
No, not for my signature. If Harry's writing it, it's for his signature. So
Subject.
it might
Your immorality.
it might depend on who the letters.
Can I edit that one?
Subject. Teacher corruption.
So we've already told Carol once when we met with her, or maybe twice when we met with her, that we did not have authority to take action. So when we write this letter, or if you write this letter, are you going to say that our attorney has now advised us that we do have authority?
No,
That
no,
we
I think
thought we didn't
I'll just cite
previously
the
have?
advice. I'll just cite the advice section in the code. The code says that we have this ability to advice, and so what we've decided to do. I mean, in some sense, we're still, we're offering advice. We're writing a letter. We're still not really taking any sort of disciplinary action. That, and I think that's right. That we don't. In other words, and that's what I'm saying. I don't actually think we have the power to tell these teachers to give or get back. That would be taking action. What we're doing is offering advice. Code makes it clear that we're free to do that. And so I'll just leave out anything that we said in the past, because I don't remember any of those conversations. I don't even know if they took place. I probably wasn't here anyway.
Well, we wanna look
I
at
get
the-
emails at the absolute last minute from many of these meetings. And I can't make it because it's like, I got the packet sometimes after the meeting has started.
Shouldn't you at least review the letter we sent to Carol?
No, I want plausible deniability. I want any knowledge of-
But as co-chair or vice chair, wouldn't you have assumption that you've read everything that's going on?
For starters, I prefer executive vice chair.
Okay.
And,
Okay, here, Kelly. Here, Dr. Kelly.
Here, Dr. Kelly. Yeah, you know something, I should probably get a copy of the last letter we sent Carol, and I'll review that.
So let's think about, all right, so I understand we're gonna let Carol know that we're gonna be giving out advice, and so, and attached is a copy of the form advice letter that we drafted. And the form advice letter is gonna say what?
We reviewed your disclosure. Code says, cite the key,
Right.
clauses about gift can't
Reasonable.
be such that you could reasonably infer
Infer.
independent judgment. And the board finds
In-
that this gift under these kinds of circumstances, and then I'll leave
May
it to
be
the.
reasonably
Well,
inferred
it
to.
may be, yeah, actually, that might be the right language, that may be
Or-
reasonably inferred
Or
that.
appears to.
Yeah, reasonably.
Yeah, because I think
whatever.
may, that's the word language of the code
Whatever
anyway,
code
right?
is.
And so that's actually a very soft way of
Maybe we
saying
could
it's a
say,
violation of the code.
should a notice of potential violation be filed as
Well,
to this gift, it may be reasonably inferred.
Well, you know, my preference would be to add that as the next sentence. In other words, I would, to be good advice, and because we really need to be offering good advice here, saying like, look, in our view, in other words, I don't think we help these teachers by really soft pedaling the letter. We really need to tell them, we think that what you're doing is in violation of the ESSA code. So I would prefer to say, having reviewed, we think that this gift under these kind of circumstances may be reasonably inferred to have,
Exactly.
period, next sentence. Were a notice of potential violation to be filed under this situation, the board would likely rule against you. And I think that's good advice. Because I think that's exactly what we think. In other words, I don't think we do teachers any favor by making the letter as non-judgmental as possible.
Well, then there's no purpose for the letter.
That's right. I mean, like, we don't want to.
It'll do
Well,
it.
the only thing about would
like.
likely rule against you is that if a notice of potential violation were to be filed with us, we would have to do an investigation, and who knows what might be uncovered in the investigation.
Maybe
I mean, how
it
can we
is
say that we would
possible to
likely rule
you?
against you when we don't know what the investigation would uncover?
Maybe what they put on the form said, that it was from one parent, but in reality, it was more than, several parents.
It's true.
Or they
So
had
maybe
5 kids in that one
That it is
class.
possible to be ruled instead of
We
likely.
could use possible. I mean, likely doesn't mean necessarily.
Well, yeah. Let's see
Well,
what
how
it looks
about,
like.
Yeah, could reasonably be inferred, which would be a violation of the ethics code. Maybe something like that versus that whole second sentence, because I had sort of the same reaction.
Yeah, we could leave the whole second sentence out with
Yeah,
the notes.
I-
I mean, 'cause
Well,
that
I
might
kind
seem
of
a little
like,
bit scary.
I
to
kind of
them.
like this, the part about were a notice of potential violation filed.
Could
The,
just-
the board would have to conduct an investigation to determine, I don't know.
It could just
something.
leave it, the board would have to conduct an investigation. Period.
Yeah,
That
period.
actually might be- Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Okay.
and then that might be enough to, because that's what we would have to do, conduct an investigation.
That's
And then they
certainly
would
true,
say,
yeah.
oh, well, I'm sorry, I said the coach bag was from this parent, but actually I didn't realize the parent collected $5 from everyone in the class to buy a
Right.
coach bag.
Or did I write 250? I meant $2.50.
$25.
$25.
Do we want to make motions on those?
Hold on a second. So, I'd actually like to pull certain ones now. Can
Let's
we,
do it.
Can we pull them now?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
for further review at our next meeting? There's a lot of them, so.
Well, do we want to set a threshold?
Because
make it
some
over
of them, I think
$100?
we could say, okay, PTA $100, yeah.
Right.
No problem, all right.
I think we'd probably all be at the same rate. Yeah.
As I say, I think there's only 3 that
But I would say that any of them that are from individual parents for any amount at this point, we should pull. So even like the $85 ones, the $100 ones.
Yeah,
I
at
think-
least
I
look
think
at
we
them,
should
right?
just pull them to think about next time. And decide whether we're gonna send our form letter for something like that.
What do you think about,
I guess my other concern is, you know, by the time these letters go out, it's gonna be months after Christmas when they got all these gifts. Because we're gonna come back, look at it at the next meeting, so it'll be February, so it'll be March before they get the letter. Be-
we could just do it for 2011.
Do we wait until the end of the school year, or do we really wanna go after these Christmas gifts?
Oh, no, I say the sooner the better.
it might be better to get it out there now so that when the end of the school year happens, you're more
Tempered.
aware of what, the potential.
I think that's right. I mean, I think that's why, I mean, like, in terms of practicality, telling them to give the gifts back, I just don't see
Right.
how that would work. I mean, they'd probably both use these gift cards and the like. So given that we're not doing that, we're just saying, hey, by the way, and I'll include this in the letter that, these types of gifts or something like that, something saying, in other words, to make it kind of, that the advice is, we know this one happened already. Don't do it again.
And we can send out letters before the next meeting. If you guys come up with that cover letter
okay, yeah.
and then approve it by email.
Now,
Then we can
now
send
the other thing to
responses.
think about is the fact that this issue has been in the press before. And when those letters start flowing,
Well, that's kind of why I wanted to.
and they're public record, and then the last time the reporters came and dug up those forms and went and interviewed some of the people that had given the gifts. And if our letter says, if a notice of potential violation were filed,
Then somebody could
problem.
file it.
then someone reading that might say, oh, he's hating Mr. Miller. That's filed. So.
Well, and also.
Is that gonna trigger filings that we might not otherwise get?
Well, yeah, that might be a good reason not to include that language.
Yeah.
That might be just right, and depending on how public a letter like that becomes, it could just simply become an invitation for someone to file a notice of it, which really isn't the point. I mean, like, my view on this was I would love to be able to say to these teachers, we're gonna give you a pass for this one, because you really have not been given any guidance by the school board about what you should do and not do, but here's the way we do it. Avoid these kinds of things in the future, and then just start working on a case by case and hopefully start creating a new culture in which people don't accept these kind of gifts.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're right, it's a good point. I mean, I think that might be a reason not to include that specific language about a notice of potential violation.
I'd be all for putting something in the letter to the teacher saying, just kind of saying, remember that even though it is a specifically, or it's a specified holiday gift, or that it still may be perceived, since you'll be teaching the student for the remainder of the
Right.
school year, where it's
This one, $50 check.
$50.
I mean,
Would
that's
these letters
even
be-
worse than a gift card, I think. Handing someone a check for $50.
You know how
We're just
hard it
being
is to go
lazy.
deposit a check anymore, though? You have to go to the bank, you have to stand in line.
Oh, you drive through. Listen to Dennis Miller while you're doing it.
Most teachers don't take credit cards though.
I mean,
Yeah. give him my 16-digit
The
number.
only person who still gives me a check is my grandma.
Actually, my mother did that to me for Christmas. She was in town here. I couldn't believe it. She gave me a check on it. I'm like, she's never done that.
The school district as a business is the only group that requires checks for school lunches too. For all those parents, you have to write those checks, and it's like you have to go find checks in your drawer. And
I
it's
so
interesting
rarely
enough they're
write
the-
checks anymore.
Yeah, they're the ones that
that require checks.
Turnabout's fair employment, I guess.
Oh, yeah, the $200 gift card.
Well, then you
Pull
see,
that one out, that's.
Yeah.
that's the one with a $200 on one side and then $100 on, then the previous one was $100.
Oh, was that the same teacher?
Yeah, no, it's the same
Same
parents, two different teachers.
They didn't obviously know that they were going to be on public record as to how
Oh
much
my
they
God,
came
you're right,
to
that's
each one.
funny. That's funny.
And who knows, maybe they got two kids in the other class, so. Because the one
Okay,
says,
Well, that's right. I mean, I'm looking at that one now, right? It says Spacey, John, and
And
Jack,
Jack.
Finley. So maybe this teacher has 3 of those kids. And I mean, that's precisely that case-by-case basis. I think is the better
How
way
about
to
this
go.
one? Group of about 30 families, $275 gift certificate to Enter Dance Yoga Studio. Parent group about 30
the
families.
family's going, the teacher's going, do what? Yoga?
So,
I like
do
this.
do
I
look
like
at
this
that
one
as
who
stiff?
does student nutrition and got chocolate dipped strawberries. Oh.
So did we get the? Did you pull the charity bowl one?
Well, yeah, I did.
$250 for that?
But that is the price. For
But
two
we
kids.
told the assembly members they couldn't take the charity ball tickets. So not only as
Is
a
assembly
parent,
different than the?
well, maybe, but not only as a parent do I get credit for giving them tickets, but I also get to sit with them all night at the ball
Mhm.
and chat them up.
On the other hand, they have to eat rubber chicken and listen to speeches all
Right,
night.
so it may,
Oh.
may have the opposite effect. Like when the teacher is going to flunk your kid because that was terrible. Yeah, $100. Oh, that's from PTA. But still.
So do we want to pull the $275 from a group of parents or not?
No.
No, I
No,
wouldn't have a
no,
problem with
but
that
I-
one.
But I think that the $200 from the one parent and there's,
Mm-hmm. No, I think those should be pulled. I think you're right. I think groups, PTA, that's okay.
There's 3 students, so 3 different students pulled together to do a $125 value gift.
They were all under $50.
Yeah, so we're okay with that?
I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
and then,
Yeah.
there's one here that's kind of frowned at a little bit, but they got it from the whole Kincaid staff, $700. It was a going away gift
Yeah.
for Mike Hanley or Hartley, I can't tell. I don't know if he's the principal or what he is.
I looked at that one.
Yeah, it must be because the donors are under the supervision of the recipient.
But since he was going away, I wasn't sure what it mattered at that point.
Still write reviews before you leave. But it's
No,
a
I'm with you.
group.
That's the only one thing. It's the group, and the only other saving detail was that it's a going away thing. You're right. He could still be writing reviews and things like that. But at least if he weren't going away, I'd say we need to look into that because that's a lot of money. Let's see. The Finley's another one. My goodness.
Is there
To Lisa Dalzin,
$100?
$100.
These people must have a really dirty car. Alaska Laser wash gift card.
Yeah, a little bit of that kind
You
of.
know,
I'd
yeah.
actually like.
My
I'd
kid,
like
my
more
kids,
information
my
on the
kids, you know,
Cynthia Koch one.
parents of students at Huffman, you know, you're going to Huffman and you got a dirty car.
Well, it was a student that gave it, wasn't it?
Well, that's parents.
Oh.
They probably wanted something else.
$65. Do we wanna pull that one? I think we're okay. Are we okay with $65?
I'm okay with it.
Alright, I'm not gonna mark it.
I kind of remember that our letter, we'd suggested 75 when we had that meeting, but I could be wrong.
I don't think Marissa heard you when you pulled Rob. I don't think
Oh.
Marissa heard you when you pulled that one. Wanted to pull.
I would kind of like to get more information from Cynthia Koch.
Yeah, that was one I
The
pulled out, yeah.
$250 gift card. I'd just like it filled out better, I think.
Yeah, what kind?
I mean, whose parents? Was it more than one parent? Was it? I don't know. It just, I mean, was it one card or was it more than one card or no? And she probably should, even though we could see what school it's from, should put in what school she's in. I guess if it's a single parent or more of a parent group.
And then Bowman Open optional parents? I mean, they're optional parents? They don't have... I'm sorry.
Modern America, there's all sorts of family structures nowadays.
I'm being disruptive. This other one here, Elizabeth
Must have already
Zwicky.
pulled it, 'cause I don't see
Okay.
any.
Small pack of cookies, small shower gel, chocolate bar. I just opened my holiday gift from students. Cards were found in the bottom of the box. It's all $60, but it's,
Well, she probably said put the $50 and then realized she put this value 60 and was explaining it.
because I kind of like the ones that go to the supplies for the class. Whether it's PTA or there is one that a parent
Crafts.
gave.
I saw that, yeah,
Crafts.
yeah,
I kind of
the
like
craft
those
one.
because I know that the school district's cutting back on what they're providing. And my sister's a teacher at Kincaid, and she's constantly having to buy stuff for her own class.
I think that just shows like the challenge of like coming up with like a hard number and saying any gift over this dollar amount. Because I think the context is important in some of these situations, like the guy getting the going away gift for us that matter. The gift certificate that's going to crafts is going to be used in the class.
I don't understand.
That makes a difference.
Well, you know,
$200.
to Joanne Fabrics, it's not like somebody's, wasn't it, or Michael's? I mean, it's
Yeah,
not like
Joanne.
it's,
Clearly it's crafted, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like,
well, I'm going to go buy a bunch
here's
of
a wad of
fabric and have
20
stuff sewn from it.
yeah.
Sell it on the black market.
Sell these crafts in the black market.
Well, they're still not all filling out the same form, are they? Still,
We have different form dates on these things. I didn't even look.
Oh yeah, there
Yeah,
are
we got
ones, aren't there?
different dates on the bottom,
they
different
were
revision
supposed
dates.
to be making an effort to sign.
I think that would probably be the,
So, do we have a motion to accept the gift disclosures other than the ones that we pulled?
Should we all agree on which ones we pulled though first?
well, what level did you decide that you have there in your hand?
Anything over $65 from an individual parent. I left the $65 one in ones we're approving.
Okay.
And then, any ones that had questions in my mind about where it was coming from, the $250 one you mentioned. I could pass around these or pass around this pile. You could see the ones we're approving.
I got it. I figured it out.
I understand.
I understand.
You don't get
All
to
right.
pass around.
I think that's right, yeah.
Okay, so these are approved. These are pooled. Do I have a motion?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Of course, then the value of a Nordstrom gift card isn't near as good as the value of a Penny's card, because you don't get as much with a Nordstrom gift card.
I sold $100 for parachute. I'm like, you know how many movies you could go to for $100 a parachute?
Yeah, but you buy food at the same time.
Yeah, so
I should send that out another scan.
You'd be going there
if they have
forever.
an X, that means they're pooled. So like on the back side, if it doesn't have an X.
And $100 a ton of it. I'm like,
Oh, right.
it's- you could spend that forever. Because you just keep bringing the books back, getting more.
Do I have a motion related to the letter we were discussing?
I move that the board empower Dr. Kelly to write condemnation letters to the teachers.
Are you getting this down?
without
No.
board review.
Motion. Can I amend the motion?
It's not, hasn't been seconded.
The motion is
Point of order hasn't been
point
seconded.
of order.
Point of order, Madam.
All right.
As the board parliamentarian.
We have a motion
The
related
executive
to
vice
some
chair.
letter that's very ill-defined. Do we have a second?
I second.
Friendly amendment? Is this where I get to friendly amend?
Only if I accept it. What's your friendly amendment? None of your amendments are friendly, so no.
I believe
I call the question.
the letter was to
Call the question.
Cuomo. The letter was to Cuomo that you were drafting.
That's what I was going to do too. I was going to do the form letter and a letter to Carol, just letting her know what we were planning on doing. I'm volunteering for both, but I'll
Okay.
gladly just take one over the other if
Okay.
someone else wants to write the letter.
So do you want to state your motion again? Can I hear it again, please?
I will write so I move that the board authorize me to write a draft form letter that offers advice to those who are receiving gifts that we believe might be in violation of the ethics code. And the second letter to ASD Superintendent Carol Cuomo, informing her of the board's new procedures involving these situations.
Do I have a second?
All right, you can have that'll accept, I'll lose my second for that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Adjourn?
I think we are adjourned.
Do we
Second.
have to set a place, time
Member
and place for next meeting?
comments? Do we have member comments? Anyone like to make comments? Do we want to talk about our next meeting date and whether we're gonna have Julia come back for more training?
That's excellent. I think we should. And boy, I guess we really should talk. We should maybe set a chunk of time aside to talk about the annual reports.
Oh, right.
We kind
really
of did that
should.
already.
We really should jump on them. And well, strictly speaking, that's the chair's job, right?
I know.
And so,
But you guys get to.
Madam Chairwoman, could you please bring your completed drafts of the annual reports to the next meeting so they can be reviewed by the board? Don't force me to send you a letter of condemnation. Subject, your sloth.
I will work on the annual report and bring a draft to the next meeting.
She puts it in her to-do list on her
I'm
phone.
gonna do that.
And she's playing Minesweeper. Yes, I'm adding it to my to-do list right now. She's updating her Facebook page. I'm working with imbeciles.
I think there would be just an A.
All right, so our next meeting is gonna be the 18th.
Is that a Friday?
Yes.
That's the third Friday of the month.
Alright.
Does that work?
I'm about to pull it up. That's worth the price of admission.
Yeah, Friday works well because I got my staff is there.
So, what are we talking about?
Oh,
February?
Lord.
February 18th, is that what we're saying?
Yes.
February 18th at 3. And on the agenda will be these form letters, the investigation that we have to conduct. It's actually going to be a pretty lengthy agenda. The annual report. So we need to do the investigation of 2010-3. Form letters, disclosures. We're gonna have to make determinations on those disclosures that we pulled out today. And we're gonna need to do the annual report, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's a heavy agenda. Don't you think it would just be better for me to review the disclosures and shoot those letters off? And they just report to you at that meeting what I did?
That might be better. I am only on the board for a few more months.
Oh, you
Maybe
think?
it'll be
It's a
taken
lame
down.
duck chair.
You think? I managed to get him.
It's true. It's absolutely. It's a stunning, right? I mean, you may
But
find yourself.
we're limited to 2 terms.
Are you really?
This is my second term.
I didn't know you were limited to 2 terms.
I thought so.
I don't think you're not limited to 2 terms.
Oh,
She'll look it up.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't we just do?
And you know what, Dee? I think were you gonna research statute of limitations on that notice of potential violation?
Okay, refresh me.
It was a really old issue, and we were
Oh,
wondering.
on this current one.
Right.
Yes, okay,
We were wondering if there was any
Yeah, that's a
time
good point,
limit on
right.
how
okay.
long you can bring a notice of potential violation.
You got something hanging over your head?
That's right. Don't pull out the string. All right. So So February 18th. I'm gonna make a note on my calendar.
That's what I just
Get
did.
up extra early for last-minute email from the clerk's office, so you can review material in time. Good! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. I've actually set a
This
little
coming
alarm.
from the guy who sends out his drafts the hour before.
You're trying to read it on your phone because you couldn't. It was too late for you to read it on your.
Speaking of which, did those
Yes.
they went out?
Mhm.
Okay.
Read your line.
Thank you. So is that too much on our agenda to have Julia come? Do we need to postpone her for another month?
I suppose so. That's a good idea. That's an awful lot. So let's push her back.
Okay. But we will include on the agenda, consider date for next training.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you want to try to keep that training within the time periods for the
Or
board?
do we want to set a special time? I mean, this
Yeah, I was
is.
thinking if you did a 3-hour training session at some point and just do it all at one, plus then we'd have our questions. So,
Let's see. I could possibly, let's see, be available for a training on March 4th. We wanted to do a separate training time.
Yeah, we could do that's Friday.
Oh,
First
right.
Friday.
Yeah, it's
of March.
Friday. I'm available then also. Fridays are easier for me.
What time do you wanna start at? You wanna
Do you
start at 3 or 4 and go into the evening? We could,
Or do we want to do
order pizzas in or
order
something?
lunch in, or
Shalem, do you have by any chance know if that's a deadline for submitting to the assembly or to the agenda? Because Julia has to deal with that, although I think her deadlines are generally noon on a Friday. I mean, if we could say the 4th or the 11th, because there's one of those dates she has to get all the legislation on the agenda on Fridays by noon. It's about every other week. I don't know when the assembly next
I
assembly
think
meeting
either
is.
of those Fridays would work for me.
The 11th would be better for me. I mean, I
Okay.
could do the 4th later
Okay, so-
in the day.
Shalem, do you know when in March when the assembly meetings are? No. Okay.
Maybe we could do it over drinks at Fletcher's or something.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Happy hour.
Real nice little wine bar in the basement, or in the right below where I work.
So pencil in 11?
Yeah.
We're fine with
the 11th or the 4th?
4th would be better
the
than that.
meetings on March 22nd and the 23rd.
So
March 22nd, and then would it also then be the 8th? So 4th would be better for Julia, because it's like 10 days ahead of time is her deadline.
Okay.
but you can do it on the 4th later,
Later in the day would be better.
3 or 4.
3 or 4, rather than noon.
Well,
I can stay late that evening and my kids are gonna be out of town, so I don't know.
okay.
Other people wanna stay late, start late and stay late, or start at 3, go from 3 to shoot for 3 to 5. Maybe run over.
I could do 3 to 5, yeah.
Run over a little
my ability to
bit.
stay later than that depends on Cheryl's schedule, because sometimes I've got to go pick up the little guy from daycare. I can't believe your kids are going to be out of town and you're going to spend that Friday night doing ethics training. Wow.
Was that spring break? You be out of town?
It's spring break, yeah.
I mean, Cheryl and
that's
Elias are
spring
going to
break.
Hawaii
This was
tomorrow
March
morning.
4th, right?
and,
Or February
Yeah.
4th?
you know,
March.
I don't know where
Oh.
I don't know where the police are going to find me. You know,
March
somebody-
4th, I'll be
someone
fine
wandering
anytime.
around
I'm sorry, I was
town.
thinking February
So
4th.
that was your son.
Oh yeah, that's him. Here's the
So we could, I mean, whenever would be fine on March 4th.
We'll do it 3 o'clock.
Okay.
almost 2 now.
So 3 to 5, March 4th for training.
Yeah, real.
Not that I'm trying to keep you out of there,
Real
but
cute.
you don't really have to be there, does he, for training?
Actually, you don't have to be there. But
Because
it'd
it's
be
not a
nice if
recorded
you
meeting.
sent out a notice to Tom.
Yeah. Well, we should also record it so we always have it on record.
Oh, right. And,
All right, yeah, I'm just, like I said, I'm not trying to keep you out of there.
Yeah,
I just was-
let me double check with her.
I see how it is.
We'll be here.
right, we'll need a room, I suppose.
I mean, I don't have to stay in the whole time. I'm still going to be right there. So. And we will be conducting an election at that time, so hectic, I'm sure.
Okay, good. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.